covering the veteran artists from pop, rock, soul, country, folk, and blues that influence today's music world. This is the VVN Music Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by the new VVN Music Radio. VVN plays the songs of the veteran artists from 1955 to today, 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. Hi, and welcome to Episode 9 of the VVN Music Podcast. I'm Roger Wink, and on today's show, we have special guest John Anderson. But first, we have a big announcement. VVN Music has started their own streaming radio station, one that will remind you of what radio used to be. Remember when the Beatles were followed on the radio by Petula Clark or Roger Miller? In the 1970s, it was Led Zeppelin, followed by the Carpenters, Al Green, and Lynn Anderson. There was no segmenting of genres, no relegating an artist to a very specific format of station, no cutting off oldies at 1965 or 1970. What we've tried to do is create a station that plays the best music by all of the veteran artists who have been recording for 20 years or more, starting with their earliest recordings, some of which could date back to 1955, and continuing right up to their latest releases. Plus, we have special programming. Every night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, it's an hour of 60s music, followed at 7 by the decade of the 70s, and at 8, it's an all-80s hour. In the future, we'll have more specialty programming along with theme weekends concentrating on certain artists or decades. It's everything that you remember radio to be in the 60s and 70s. Just go to the VVN Music site and click on VVN Music Radio along the top menu, or access the station via the TuneIn or Radionomy apps. That's VVN Music Radio.
You always live your life, never thinking about the future. Prove yourself, you are the steps you take. Take your chances, win or lose.
Our guest today is John Anderson, who's best known as the guitarist and singer for Yes, with whom he played almost constantly from 1968 to 2008. Today, he's exploring other avenues for his music, including the new Anderson Ponty Band with French violinist Jean-Luc Ponty. Their first album, Better Late Than Never, was recently released via Liaison Music and includes reworkings of both Yes and Ponty songs along with a couple of new tunes. John Anderson got his start while still in school playing in Little John's skiffle group covering the music of Lonnie Donegan. From 1962 to 1967, he was the lead vocalist in the band The Warriors, but it was an association with Chris Squire and Peter Banks that led to the formation of Yes, who released their debut album in 1969. Anderson influenced the band in the direction of highly complex pieces, for which they became known, on such albums as Fragile, Close to the Edge, and Tales of Topographic Oceans. After a dispute with other members of the band, Anderson went solo for 4 years, but returned to a restructured Yes in 1983 to record the album 90125, which included their biggest hit, Owner of a Lonely Heart. Anderson began suffering from some health problems in 2004 and left the group in 2008 to pursue other projects. Everything led to the recent release of his new album with Jean-Luc Ponty. Thank you very much. It's an honor to talk to you, and thank you for taking the time to talk with us here.
Thank you.
Your partnership with Jean-Luc Ponty has been a long time coming. When did you folks first meet?
Gosh, it was late 70s. Jean-Luc was working with Mahavishnu Orchestra, one of my favorite bands of all time, and I went to see them, and we connected, and we chatted, and it happened again in the mid-'80s, and you bump into people and you just know there's good energy around anyway. So you always say, oh, must get together and make some music. And, 20 years later, hey, we must get together and make some music.
So when did you actually decide to take it forward in a professional partnership?
It was the beginning of last year, actually. I've been working on a song with a friend up in Oregon, and he just sent me a mix with Jean-Luc playing on it. Kind of freaked me out because he knew Jean-Luc, and I just thought, oh, wow, can you imagine me with Jean-Luc and the violin and the voice? So what I did, I got in touch with Jean-Luc, and I said, I'll be in touch next week because I'm doing some work on a couple of your older pieces of music, and you can see what it would be like if I write a song on some of your classic music. And he said, oh, very nice, thank you very much. And, we became friends very quickly. And he just loved what I did on his work. And that's how it developed. Probably last, February, March, around that time. And then during the year, we did some more work, writing a couple of songs together in the summertime. And then it was a question of what are we going to do. So we decided to get together and, do a show. That was the plan, was to rehearse for a couple of weeks, do a show, and see how we feel,
And that show was the one that you did, I think it was last October?
In Aspen, yeah, it was a year ago. It was a year ago last week. So time flies.
I noticed on the album that even though you recorded that live during those shows, that unless you happen to notice some of the crowd sound in the background during a song, you wouldn't know that was a live album.
Not really. Initially, I think the record companies we took it to didn't want a live album. I don't know why, but that's what they said, and that kind of stuck with us. For me, it's just performing it was really exciting, performing the new music and, of course, some classic Yes songs as well. And, basically putting on a show, because that's why we did it. We wanted to put on a show and see how we felt together on stage and see what the audience reaction would be. And then we'd said, okay, then we'll mix the album and go on tour in February, March, thinking, oh, yeah, mix the album. It's so easy. And, of course, you listen back to everything and say, well, most of the drums are amazing. The keyboards are amazing. The bass is perfect. The guitar needs some changes. Of course, I missed some vocals along the way, lyrically. And so you start tidying it up, and then it becomes a little bit more of a process where you start working a little bit more defined on each track, making sure it's good. And then we added a couple of new tracks. So it became this project, rather than a live album. It's more of a project.
Now that you're done with this project, what are you looking at moving forward with the band and possibly a studio album?
No, we're going to be doing a tour starting in 2 weeks. We're going to be starting in Philadelphia on the 27th of October through to the 28th of November. We're going to be touring sort of North America. And, we just know that we just like now, we have the show. We really know what we want to add to the show to make it a better show. And now we would love to just tour the world if we can, the rock and roll world, or the jazz world, jazz fusion festivals and things like that,
You had a very successful Kickstarter campaign that financed the making of the album. What made you decide to go that route?
Well, I've thought about this many years ago with Yes, when at the beginning of 2002 it was, record companies were saying, okay, what are you going to do for us now? What have you done for us lately? Sort of thing. And I just said, wouldn't it be great if we got the fans to pay, $50 each, and they could join this sort of adventure in making an album. If we got 1,000 people, that's $50,000 that could start us off, and then people, I wouldn't have called it, Kickstarter. Who would have known? And then, we'd do some special, I call them the festivals, and then we'd do special events where people who put money up for us to make the record could come to the special event. I'd do barbecue, We do a couple of shows, and I do my solo show. Steve could do his solo show, and so on. We could do, that kind of thing where it's more of a community happening, if you like. And Rick Wakeman was so into it. So me and Rick were really into it, and the rest of the guys thought I was a nutcase. I said, I only want to do barbecue. I can make barbecue. I'm very good at it. It was fun. The idea was fun. And the Kickstarter people have been great. The one or two people got pissed off because we didn't get it out on the date of the 24th of March, whatever we were hoping for. But by and large, they've all been very wonderful, and now they've got the album before anybody else. They've got the T-shirt before anybody else, and they've got their backstage passes and all that kind of thing that come with the deal.
Well, Kickstarter is kind of a tough market sometimes because people do expect that once they pay their money, they're going to get something immediately, and that's not the idea behind it.
No, but if I pay money, I want my album now. Kickstarter are doing movies now and doing TV shows and sponsoring musicals. It's become a big thing now. The whole concept. Basically bands would just go to the bank and get money. The bank being a record company, they get 50 grand, 100 grand to make an album. And it's like going to the bank. You gotta pay it back with interest, and that's all it was. Basically, a record company was a bank, and there were some people in the record company that cared about music. In the old days, they loved music, but over the last 20 years, it was a business,
Is it your own label that you released the album on?
No, we actually found some good people that I've known now and again, and our manager Jim's known these people, and they love what we're doing. So they knew about the project, and they just love what we did, and they've released it, and they're very happy and excited. And it's very, the media business these days is get the album out there into Amazon, iTunes, Apple, you don't go out and stand on the street corner and sell a record anymore.
The arrangements on the album of the existing material from both you and also from John Luke have a lot of original elements in it, and yet you have put in some very unique changes. Were you each responsible, or did you have someone helping with the arrangements on it?
No, we do all that. We're quite capable. We're all very capable of coming up with ideas. Music is easy. The business is tough. And basically, we wanted to do a show where people would come and pay tickets and pay for tickets, and they come and see a show. If you see me singing in a band, people do want to hear a few Yes songs. Is that right? One would hope. So I said, let's do Honor of a Lonely Heart. The band played it in 10 minutes, and I couldn't believe how good it was. And then let's do Roundabout. Oh, yeah, they can do that. But, they can. These guys are unbelievable, these musicians that Jean-Luc works with. They're unbelievably good. So they can play anything. So I said, okay, Time in the Word. Let's do a reggae version. So we start doing reggae, Time in the Word. Yeah, let's do that. And then we said, let's do a piano guy, his name is Wally Minko. You play the piano for about a minute or so, and I'll come in singing Wonder Stories. And yeah, let's do that. So it's music is easy and a lot of fun, believe me.
I noticed on a couple of the tracks you put in a little snippet from the Yes song, Your Move. Was that something that you were actually thinking about doing, or?
No, it just popped up one day, and I was singing the song, and then the band was sort of grooving along, and I just went, da-da-da-da-da-da, just joined in with it, really. And, it just happens because we're going to be on the road, so I'm sure as we do shows that, little vocals will pop in from another song, and I was thinking about that this morning, that in my solo show I do a piano version of Close to the Edge and Revealing from an album you don't know, it was Tales from Topographic. But, I do these sort of spontaneous moments on piano. I thought, wow, maybe I should throw that in the stage show. It'd be kind of cool. You
mentioned the rest of the band. Is it mainly John Luke's band that you have backing you up?
Yeah, it just worked out better, working with musicians that Jean-Luc knows. It's perfect. These guys are seasoned musicians. They're very, very thankful to be a musician and very, very open and wonderful people. I'm just so blessed to work with them.
What was the creative process that you and John Luke went through as far as writing new material? Did you work together, or was it a long distance?
Yeah, the internet is a marvelous, it's the world studio. I work with 24 people on a dozen people on a regular basis, just writing songs for projects, for musicals, for for movie scores and things like that. And you do it sending MP3s to each other. So Jean-Luc would send me an MP3 of a piece of music. I will sing it, send it back. He'd develop it, send it back to me, and I'd remember the lyrics and go, oh, yeah, I've got to change the lyric there, I'll do it right. And that's how you work. It's as though he's actually in the same room.
So you are going out on tour in October and November, and we have the holidays. Then what's next for John Anderson?
Well, we're hoping to go to, we've got some invitation to go to Japan and China and Korea in March, and then we'll probably go to Europe for sort of springtime. And then summer we'll probably do some other gigs like festivals and things, jazz festivals and things like that. Whoever wants us, we'll be out there having fun. Not like crazy touring all the time, but generally, a month on tour, 2 months off, a month on tour, 2 months off, or a month off, like that. But we're keeping busy, and I've got a project coming out, and Jean-Luc's got another project coming out in the spring of next year, and I'm busy writing music every day because I love writing music and creating. You
had a falling out with your bandmates in Yes a few years ago. How are relations now?
Well, it wasn't so much, you can call it falling out. They decided I got very sick, and I just wanted a break from touring, and maybe we should do an acoustic album, something different, because I was getting a little bored just going on stage and being noisy and making a lot of... we were actually good on tour. The band was great. The last time I toured with them 11 years ago. But I just needed a break from that constant touring because all you're doing is making money for the manager when you look at it, because it costs a fortune to tour. And I just said, why don't we just have a break and do some acoustic music or do an album just acoustic? It'd be so cool. And they didn't really want to do that. And Rick was already deciding to leave the band anyway.
You mentioned your voice, and it has always been amazing and very unique. What have you done over the years to keep your voice in shape? Because you still sound just as amazing as you did in the 70s.
Yeah, I stopped smoking.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. 25 years ago, I said, that's enough. I think I've smoked myself silly. I don't need it anymore. And then I met my beautiful wife, and that's probably why, because I was free of smoking.
But nothing as far as vocal exercises or anything like that?
I just sing every day. I'm singing in the car. I just love singing. So I'm writing so many songs and music every day, so that keeps me going,
There's what I like to call an unopened branch in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for art and progressive rock music that really should have the Moody Blues and King Crimson and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes in it. What do you think the holdup is to opening that door?
I don't know. I was there last year. I did a show there for the people for their special. It's a teaching situation where you sing. I was doing my solo show, but I was also talking about lyric writing. So you do a question and answer with about 500 people in this beautiful theater. They were wonderful people. I've never thought that I need to get into the Hall of Fame. I've never thought that. If it happens, my mantra is it'll happen when it happens.
That's true. It just seems like it is such an important part of the history of rock music that it really needs some recognition from them.
I agree, but it's we thought we were going to get nominated last year, but it never happened. So it'll happen when it happens. I'm cool. I've got plenty of time left, and even if it doesn't happen, I'll still believe that Yes was very important musically to the fabric of my life, and thousands of people loved it, and we sold over 30 million records, so we reached people all over the world on many levels, I can go to Brazil, I can go to Australia, New Zealand, I can go to, almost everywhere in the world, and there's always these groups of people that know what Yes is all about, and I'll get up and sing with my guitar, and people love it. So when we tour with Jean-Luc, it's going to be fun because we're going to bring in a lot of fans that wanted to see me sing again with a band, so it'll be a lot of fun.
And hopefully you'll bring in some fans of Jean-Luc also, and
they'll
be exposed to your music.
I should have said that as well. But obviously, Jean-Luc, that's why we're going to be doing jazz festivals as well. So it's going to be a fun tour, that's for sure. And me and Jean-Luc are like brothers from a different mother.
Well, I want to wish you all the best of luck with the new album. I think it is a really, really good album. I mean, I enjoy the style and especially the changes that you put into the music. It's always good to hear a little change up once in a while.
Good, thank you. I appreciate that because, it's just come out. I was down in L.A. and I hadn't listened to the album for about 2 months, and I really didn't listen to it till this last weekend. And I think, hey, it sounds pretty good. I was very surprised. Because you live with it, when you're making music, you live with it on a daily basis for about 3 months. And after a while, you're not sick of it, but you hope it's good.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk, and we will definitely get the word out on the album.
Thank you so much. Wish you well.
Our thanks to John Anderson for talking with us. His new Anderson Ponte Band album, Better Late Than Never, is available now. We'll be back soon with another edition of the VVN Music Podcast. For the latest news on the veteran artists of rock, pop, soul, country, folk, and blues, check in at vvnmusic.com. And for a brand new listening experience with the greatest music of the last 60 years, try out VVN Music Radio. If you have any comments or questions about the website or this podcast, please send them to vvnnetwork@gmail.com. Our theme music is performed by Yahar. This program was recorded on October 29th, 2015, and is a production of the VVN Network, copyright 2015.